Greetings. Yes, we're there with you. Um, Greetings. Yes, we're there with you. Reflection evening. I want to bring to you something very, very interesting this evening. But we also want to return to George Orwell. Is it Orwell? No, ma'am, it's not Orwell. We want to return to the Semitic language. We want to return to racism. And we want to look at that guy, Darwin, and tell people, say, again, since 2019, why it's most essential that the Caucasian race remove that stuff. For if there were really serious concern in human rights and the dignity and liberty of a people, which is us, that racist stigma that was created by them would have disappeared by now. But it's in academia. It's also in science. And they haven't done anything. And we as a people, African people, we haven't done anything either. Because we should have put pressure upon them and insist that we're not trade with you, we're not negotiate with you, we're not talk to you. You understand? And when you look at this word anti-Semitic, that means for a people hostility and prejudice. But it's closed up with racism. And a people hijack that word. An institution across the earth and governments accepts that. And people get arrested, stopped, banned, and the people are asked to bend down on them knees and everything and apologize. And some people get sentenced. Because then go to court and all kind of thing. And them have to pay fees. And if they refuse to abide. So it's a serious thing. Racism. And Africans, we must know so that Semitic language are for we. So how can a European set of people hijack so many things? It's amazing. Hold these two tunes before I go into my things.
Babylon keep burning, burning. Kabaja and town.
What you gonna do? Rasta man is coming through. Cool as the breeze, fresh like the morning dew. Get you up together, this you got to do. It's Selassie. Hey, what you gonna do? Rasta man is coming through. This is nothing new, written in new history. Evacuation scroll, educate yourself and it's Selassie. Hey, Selassie.
Me dash the fire in a Babylon. Hey, Jaja give unto why the whip the pagan. Hey, me no business about no politics relation. No new world order can set up with this Rasta man. Nah. Hey, Marcus Garvey, ancient monarchy. Sons of the slaves of me ancestors surround me. Hey, couple the wicked wicked, chop them up like a salami. Them think I'm me alone, them been know me chat with your army.
What you gonna do? Rastaman is coming through, cool as the breeze, fresh like the morning dew. Get you out together, this you got to do is Selassie. Hey, what you gonna do? Rastaman is coming through, this is nothing new, written in new history. Check your Asian scroll, educate yourself and it's Selassie.
What are we been? Educated keep beating, yeah, we been on fire bun. Fire bun for teaching with the people can't beat the sun. Burn all politician where you think get a youth, them down na this law. Them give them the gun, no more pay thief in and a pay blood I run. We come to build.
Listen. Don't let fraudulent people and disturb your conscience.
No, tell them we no want to war. No, tell them we no want to war. Bad boys and police, tell them we no want to war. Let's just keep the peace, tell them we no want to war. Listen me now.
True.
Well, I love and unity, me say ya. That we need, and equal rights and justice, well, that we need more teachings of His Majesty, yeah. That we need fulfillment of the prophecy, yeah. That we need more love for humanity, yeah. That we need and more solidarity, yeah. That we need them to legalize marijuana. That we need education for the youth, it should be free. Now, emancipate yourself from mental slavery. Not even UNICEF or UN couldn't save them. Yet still we standing for a cause, not working for applause. Remember the revolution come with changes. No more war. Tell them you know.
You see it there? Away. A long time we had traffic this summer.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Seraphim music.
Church,
Oh,
yo, North Africa.
hey, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Southwest Asia, Semitic language, you know. Amharic, Arabic.
No wonder, no wonder, no
I don't
wonder,
understand where everybody is come from. Yeah,
no wonder, no wonder,
yo,
no
black
wonder.
historians. What do you want?
No, no more wondering.
I'm asking again, what do you want?
No wonder, no wonder, no more wondering. Yes, I was feeling down and low, trying to figure a way to go. But the way already been shown, had to find my way back home. You see, I reside in the sky, in the power of giants inside. No more wondering about what I know. Continue studying, pray that I grow. The realization of my strength came all of a sudden. No wonder.
Why you wonder?
The realization of my strength came all of a sudden. No wonder.
Moja.
Hey, no wonder. No more wondering.
I don't see the youth.
I gon' take the badge I said for we.
How would that be?
Yeah, no wonder. No more wondering. I gon' take the badge I said for we.
Everyone plagiarize black people after
When
that.
you like a flower where you open we arose. Children of the sun, meditation a grow. I like bring we come, we like energy we flow. The influence of darkness of them drunk and borrow. Can't see where them a do, can't see where them a go. Now realize still too late, send the devil them a follow. Could I be a dynamo money, then now where them a go do? Organize from long time, confederate to slew you. No ramp with your time, he lent life to you. With that fire in your eyes, telling me where you a go do.
Yeah, man, this is Things and Times, a lesson well learned every time. See, I will not follow. See, we not follow nobody, you know. We are do for our own thing in our own way. Every time. See, we are take up the slackness of the people them should know, have known better. That belong to us. You see, some of them, because they're paid, and them say them don't want to rock the boat. And them say someone like me is not courteous enough. You understand? But me not trained to be a journalist, you know. You see, the most important things that has happened for us as African people in the diaspora is the original man and woman. And when we say man, you know, we don't mean masculine man. We mean mankind. So people must understand, you know. Because some people turn around and say that these Muslims just have a masculine understanding and we oppress or deny woman. Are you mad? Are you gonna need we much later? May I tell you, for all the dirtiness we are going with, and that's our people may I chat about, you know. All the dirtiness we are going with, and all the disrespect that we are going with the young girls them. Which are your sons them are gonna get a clean, organic woman? Where they gonna come from? And at that women are gonna lose on a life. Cause the only place you're gonna get that is Islam, Muslims. You understand? Yes. You think so I joke this? All my daughter them and I go try get. You see it? And I make the wrong move when I lose an arm. I tell you no. So you see, laugh now, weep much later. You see it? You're going about dancehall and skin out. So let me get back to the real thing now. This woman here, Goldberg, I saw she name, make some comment and the view that she's on. The management them suspend her. So here what me just tell principal say I joke that, you know. And nothing serious. It's every so often the people them have to do something and them jerk off a black person. You understand? It's a joke. Come me just say to him, what is her name? You understand? Yeah, the people them listen, man. People them know what they're doing. And someone like her knows her situation. You understand? And then nothing profanity, you know, that she say. You don't see it there. But just to show you that the levels of what these people will do and how we are not concerned about ourselves because people them call we the most despicable things and we not do nothing about it. And not only we not do nothing about it, the countries that legislate human rights and all these things, I lie them I tell. They're the racist people. Here in England, you have Yorkshire, them say Yorkshire cricket. But it's not just Yorkshire cricket, it's everybody. It's everybody. How come it just a leak out? It's everybody. Metropolitan Police, before Stephen Lawrence and up to Stephen Lawrence, and them still not combat it. And now all the sexism and the class discrimination and all of these terrible things that law enforcement supposed to be standing against is now leaking out. So they show you the Scarman report and all them report there and what Imran Khan discover and so forth. Nothing has been dealt with. And it's because it's black people. It offends. You understand? So if the man them can go to all Egypt, lick off the nose of our ancestors, and now spending so much millions transforming the features to be Europeans in Egypt, in Africa, and make Egypt seem like it's someplace in Iceland or someplace in Norway or Czechoslovakia or Poland and all of these things. You understand? And little more because we don't have no institutions, we don't have no infrastructure, we are still trying to be British and Canadians and all of these different things. Our children would dismiss what has happened to us in slavery and embrace Holocaust and anti-Semitic jargon and so on. So who is to blame for that? Are we? Because we not spend our money collectively. We not organize ourselves in any which we are formed to look at future. And we not believe that we are resourceful. We're just a temporary fixed measure. So who's having a laugh at us? Ourselves. The white man not do we a damn thing really, you know. It's we are suck up to how he must feel. That is causing we the biggest problem. Can we pay attention to them? We don't have an agenda that's African. We don't have an agenda that's for rights of humanity. We don't have an agenda called the rights of Pashis and African rights of Pashis. We don't have an agenda called culture. We don't have an agenda called modality. We don't have an agenda called morality. We just slip through here and slip through there because we can. And that's how we've been educated, have been educated. Now, the best of us who have graduated in education, in the field of education, in the secular man's world, we should have known, we should know better, and we should have been doing better. But what do? We suck up to the employment like we're not confident in our graduation, and we're not confident about the job to which we are doing or have been doing. So there again is a problem. A serious problem. A very serious problem. And then when them find a problem with all these racist something, some black individuals decide that they're gonna go there and help them address that situation. And none of we business. We are gonna do? Go tell them now how to hide? Backside. Cockroach has no business, people, in a foul pen. Because the cockroach is a very vulnerable little insect. And it not fly high, you know, like, you know? Yeah. And it greedy, because when it eat like that, it can't even get off the ground. You understand? Cockroach, you know. But them just breed fast. Cockroach. So you see that they're lacking sense. And they're only insects, you know, cockroaches. So what we are doing now? We want to give one more tune. And stir up the place.
Yeah, Sila. All I see is love. I feel no enemy. I build the youths. Full them up a love cannon. Sometimes it feel all battered and bruised. Still I full them up a love cannon. Under me roof we recruit all kind of youth. Full them up a love cannon. I've got nothing to prove. Full them up a love cannon. I tell you this, life is like a battlefield. Youths are hungry, every day them in a need. Will someone aid them, take them from the miseries? Educate them and get rid of poverty. Butter cook, breadfruit and rose. The kidney a ramp and a run round the yard.
See, educate them and help them the families come out to the poverty, and we all have islands, you know. Could you imagine? Islands. And yet still, the people them who governs as prime ministers and everything, they're our own people. So you see the disparity. They're being selected allegedly by us. Then they go in to represent us. Then they speak about us as speaking about themselves. And them do the opposite. So how did that happen? How does this thing happen? How does it really manifest itself? They are still working for the colonial institutions. And they follow the dictates of the colonial institutions. And we, the population, should see that. But no, them tickle our fancy with celebration of independence. And what do? We go along and have a fun. Because we're confused. Before the independence celebration that they're going to now invite us to, we're angry with them, you know. We're confused by their actions and their statements. But then them come and just drop this thing upon us because them know say we're weak. Weak how? Mentally. And them exploit us and they watch we know like dumb fools. We say, cha. And we go buy some clothes. We have party like the conservative. And we borrow money. And we go say, but we are celebrate independence, to which we haven't got any. It's a placebo was given. So now the poverty, the criminality, the lack of social health and welfare for the people, and creating the creativity of employment, all of these things is a crisis. And then some of them talk about them are run International Monetary Fund, and then have no money. And then when them get the money that's supposed to help the population, it helps them and them friend. A little political circle. And the people them still sit down, some is crying, some is weeping, and everybody's mourning, and everything continues year after year, year after year. So you see, we're not strong. We can bark like a dog, but we can't bite. You understand? And theological education has a lot to do with that, you know, and this mysticism. See? So people are waiting for Jesus, whoever that is, to tell them what to do. But then a pastor going to tell you, say, that Jesus said, stand still and weep not and mourn not. A lie I tell. He's told to say that, to keep the mass of the population quiet. Meanwhile, gunman now read nothing of that. Gunman see opportunity now to show that they are powerful. And then go around and exploit the poor. Them not exploit the rich, you know. This is a strange thing about these gangs. I don't know what to call them. It's a very strange thing. It's not logical. It's not Al Capone type. It's not Billy the Kid type. This is ignorance. This is big, young, this is people playing around with a toy. Because them people that you would think, so them people that deal with big people, big corporations, you know, that, I don't know. It's just like this postcode nonsense that developed here, wherever it came from. Yeah? But it affected our community, our areas, not communities. And we never have a response for it. The knife is coming to our areas, and we're not having a response for it. What we do is go to the coroner and collect the body of our children. And then go to the church, sort out something over this, so, and then go to the cemetery and pay a mortgage. And many of us have to beg and ask people and have PayPal and all kind of something to get our money to rub together to give our loved one a decent, respectful send-off. That exposes us tremendously. Families, you know, families that has not structured themselves in any which way or form. Them can't hide them dignity and go to a bank and get our money. Them have to put it out on Facebook, on Twitter, Twitter, WhatsApp, and all these junk things to raise our money, to give their loved one a send-off. Righty, that's listen, when you think about that, it's so sad. And then we have this pandemic, and people now come together and think about, yo, you know what? We just experienced some real serious problems. Short of money, people who had part-time job now have no job again. In them 2 years, rates have come and rates have gone, and people them still in an arrears, rather come, and more rather come. And now the government them, after them have all them party, they had announced before the winter come in that the rates going to increase by more than 50%. So how the hell is unemployed people, people who get social income, that are trying to get that? Huh? How they going to manage? Let alone the elderly people in this country, you know. Because many of the people them are wrapped up in them quilt day and night and wait till all EastEnders and Carnation Street come and then go lie down. This is elderly people that I get pension and them can't plan and replan and restructure again. So it's just to sit down in them house with them big coat on and them quilt. This is England. And we are going like we are robots, black people. Huh? You're joking. So watch this. And don't bother call the authorities and complain about what Mr. Best has just put up online. Here we go.
The placing of the boy in the cage with a monkey is an outrage. The Negro race in America has a hard enough time as it is in getting away from the prejudice that is closely related to the monkey without having a member of the race placed on exhibition.
Leading men of science from Harvard.
Hold on.
Princeton and Columbia University was saying that Africans were midway between an orangutan and a human being. So 100 years later, it should not come as much of a surprise that many people still cling to these notions of European superiority, African inferiority.
The year was 1859. 3 months after Charles Darwin published his book On the Origin of Species, American promoter P.T. Barnum unveiled a new attraction at his popular museum in New York City. It featured what was described as the What Is It, or man monkey. Visitors were told that the creature had been captured by hunters in Africa, who discovered a race of beings roving among the trees and branches like apes and monkeys. Museum staff declared that the creature had been pronounced by scientists as a connecting link between African blacks and lower animals. In reality, Barnum's so-called man monkey was an African-American man named William Henry Johnson. Thanks to Barnum, Johnson spent much of his life on public display as an evolutionary missing link, sometimes in a cage. Many reporters at the time were happy to promote the deception. The New York Tribune declared that Barnum's performer seemed to be a cross between an ape species and a Negro, while another paper declared,
"The head is shaped like that of a monkey, but the face is more like that of an African Negro of the lower order. It has been pronounced by naturalists as a specimen of the connecting link between man and monkey."
Many more supposed missing links were marketed to the public at freak shows throughout America. In the 1880s, there was Crow, promoted as living proof of Darwin's theory of the descent of man. She was described as a perfect specimen of the step between man and monkey. Actually, Crow was a young woman from Southeast Asia who suffered from hypertrichosis, a rare genetic condition that produces excessive hair. In the early 1900s, there was Congo, the ape man, usually exhibited in a cage next to a chimpanzee. Most of these early presentations of missing links were crude hoaxes put forward by hucksters, not scientists. But the quest to dramatize the lower stages of human evolution eventually reached far beyond freak shows. It ultimately involved the most elite members of the scientific community, and it was given a platform at one of the most celebrated events in early 20th century America. Today, Forest Park in St. Louis is a place for walking, or riding a bicycle, or spending a quiet Sunday afternoon. But more than a century ago, it was one of the most visited locations in the entire United States, the site of the 1904 St. Louis World's Fair. Attracting more than 19 million visitors, the World's Fair was known for its lavish neoclassical buildings, its 22-story high Ferris wheel, and the public debut of innovations such as the X-ray machine and the ice cream cone. But the fair had a darker side. Organizers imported thousands of indigenous peoples from around the world to be put on public display in what was essentially a giant human zoo. Unlike freak shows, the Human Zoo in St. Louis was created with the cooperation of America's scientific establishment. The man behind the Human Zoo was anthropologist William McGee. One of the nation's leading scientists, McGee had already served as acting president of the American Association for the Advancement of Science. In 1903, he was asked to head the anthropology department for the World's Fair. McGee had grand plans of presenting the story of human evolution by
Sit down and I look out the road as the evening sun goes down. No, Bill man, I build the youth, full them up a love cannon. Sometimes me feel all battered and bruised, full them up a love cannon. And I'm the road me recruit all kind of youth, full them up a love cannon. I've got nothing to prove, full them up a love cannon. Through the passage of time, I wonder how the youths them make it. No one cares for their lives, so they all get wasted. If there's no role model again, on who can we depend? Happily children follow the trend. Remember this a world without end. Abuse them once but never again. Chatty about a be and double again. I listen and see I'll be a best friend. So I and I no come for pretend. I will man, I will be used. Full them up a love cannon. Sometimes you feel all battered and bruised. Full them up a love cannon. And I'm a roof, me recruit all kind of youth. Full them up a love cannon. I've got nothing to prove.
Was saying that Africans were between an orangutan and a human being.
Like many scientists of his day, McGee influenced the research for his ideas on human development. From Darwin's theory that humans have evolved from ape-like ancestors.
Darwin's theory provides for categorizing Africans as biological theories. His impact created a biological
Sometimes battle and bruise. Pull them up under me roof. I'm a recruit. Pull them up enough got to prove.
some of these comparisons were used for Darwin. But after Darwin, they increasingly took on the authority of science.
Darwin argued that the great evolutionary history between apes and men, Africans and Australian Aborigines and gorillas. In other words, he thought blacks were the closest humans to apes. German scientist Ernst Haeckel helped popularize the idea.
Ernst Haeckel was the leading German Darwinist in the late 19th and early 20th century. He corresponded extensively with Darwin, and Darwin recognized Haeckel's affinity with his own theory.
Ernst Haeckel also is known for his raving racism. And in fact, he had a graphic of the history of human evolution that, in very pointed terms, really embedded a racist view of human evolution. You had the Teutonic male on the top, the sort of the Germanic male, and then at the bottom you had some creatures that looked partly like apes, partly like Jews. He was also anti-Semitic. And in the middle, you had the transition from the ape-like creatures to the first human creatures. The ape-like creatures look pretty much like they're Africans. And the takeaway point that Ernst Haeckel had from this graph was that the difference between the highest human being and the lowest human being, the gap between the highest Teutonic male and the first human being that was just one step above the apes, was larger than the gap between the lowest human being and the highest ape.
At the St. Louis World Fair, William McGee expressed a similar view, arguing that scientists had now shown
the structure of the lowest humans more nearly resembles that of the highest ape-like animals than that of the highest humans.
Like other scientists of the era, McGee saw primitive non-white peoples as living evidence of man's evolutionary history.
The savage stands strikingly close to subhuman species in every aspect of mentality, as well as in bodily habits and bodily structure.
McGee was determined to use primitive peoples at the fair to dramatize for the public the different stages of human evolution, beginning with races he considered lowest on the evolutionary scale. McGee arranged for native peoples to be put on display in villages designed to recreate their native habitats. These villages were enclosed by fences, making them truly seem like human zoos. More than 4 million fairgoers reportedly visited these anthropological displays, eagerly staring at and poking at the indigenous peoples in their enclosures. Adding to the indignities, native peoples were pressured to participate in a series of athletic contests designed to show they were biologically inferior to whites. Those on display were also subjected to experiments in a special laboratory set up by the fair's anthropology department. Directed by a psychology professor from Columbia University, the lab conducted tests to measure native people's intelligence and physical features, and even their threshold for pain. Some scientists came to the fair with more gruesome plans. Alish Hrdlicka was an anthropologist at the Smithsonian. He came to St. Louis hunting for dead bodies. Hrdlicka was obsessed with analyzing the brains of other races to gain insight into human evolution. He went on to assemble a collection of hundreds of embalmed human brains, many of them still stored by the Smithsonian. Hrdlicka extracted a promise from doctors in St. Louis to hand over the brains of any of the natives who might die while on display at the fair. Native peoples were brought to the St. Louis Exposition from the far corners of the globe. From Japan came representatives of the Ainu people. Patagonians came from South America. Igorots and Negritos came from the Philippines. Both were thought by scientists of the time to be near the bottom of the evolutionary ladder for humans. The Negritos were even marketed at the fair as another missing link between humans and apes. But perhaps the most exotic people group brought to St. Louis for public display were pygmies from the African Congo.
Will the pygmies brought last week to the World's Fair prove Darwin's theory of the missing link? Will a study of the little black children of the African jungles shed light on the theory evolved by Darwin as regards the evolution of the human race? Dr. W.J. McGee, chief of the anthropology department of the World's Fair, is convinced that it will. This is the first time that the Aboriginal people of Africa have been brought to an English-speaking country. This is the first opportunity that has been presented to scientists to study them. Many characteristics were noticed in the pygmies that closely resemble the ape or the simian type. It is believed that the pygmies, who are said to represent the lowest form of human development, are next removed from the simian family.
The pygmies appearing at the St. Louis World's Fair had been transported from Africa by former missionary turned explorer Samuel Phillips Werner. Werner had gone to Africa with the explicit goal of finding pygmies to display at the fair.
He had gone to the Congo heavily armed, and he had gone hunting for these people he called pygmies, these diminutive people of the Central African forest.
The fair's anthropologist William McGee repeatedly compared the pygmies to monkeys and apes. In the journal Science, he even asserted that pygmies were commonly considered to approach subhuman types more closely than any other variety of the genus Homo.
They were considered by men of science at that time to be the lowest form of humans, or in some thought they were subhuman.
The pygmies were less than thrilled by their welcome at the fair.
The Americans treat us as they do our pet monkey. They laugh at us and poke their umbrellas into our faces. They do the same to our monkey.
One pygmy at the fair became a special celebrity. His name was Ota Benga. Samuel Werner had purchased him at a slave market. Ota Benga was advertised to fairgoers as the only genuine African cannibal in America today. For a nickel, he would display his pointed teeth that supposedly enabled him to eat human flesh. At the end of the fair, the pygmies returned to Africa with Samuel Werner. But in 1906, Werner brought Ota Benga back to America. It would prove a fateful choice. Samuel Werner returned from Africa to New York City on July the 30th, 1906, arriving on the SS Armenian from Liverpool. He was accompanied by 2 chimpanzees, a snake, a parrot, and 50 boxes of materials from Africa that he hoped to sell to museums. He was also joined by Ota Benga. Werner quickly departed New York, leaving Benga at the American Museum of Natural History in Manhattan. Established in 1869, the museum was already becoming one of the premier scientific institutions in the world. Ota Benga was largely left free to wander the museum's exhibit halls. When Samuel Werner eventually returned to New York, he was fighting off creditors, and the museum wanted him to find new lodgings for Ota Benga. So Werner worked out an agreement to move Ota Benga to the New York Zoological Park, otherwise known as the Bronx Zoo. Spread over more than 260 acres, the Bronx Zoo had been envisioned by its founders as the largest zoo in the world and the grandest zoological establishment on Earth. The zoo was directed by William Temple Hornaday. A noted zoologist, Hornaday formerly worked at the Smithsonian, and he had already founded the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Overseeing Hornaday was an executive committee chaired by Henry Fairfield Osborn, a distinguished professor at Columbia University. Hornaday and Osborn had dreams of exhibiting more than just animals at their new zoo. Both wanted to install Native Americans on zoo grounds, with Osborn promising that one day the Indian and his teepee would take their place next to the Zoological Park's buffalo. Now they had their chance to put their first human on display. Hornaday quickly agreed to purchase one of Werner's chimpanzees and to house both the chimp and Ota Benga at the zoo. Hornaday planned to exhibit the pygmy and the chimpanzee together in a cage in the zoo's monkey house.
It was presented as science, not as a circus act, because these were men of science who were doing this.
Ota Benga went on display in the monkey house on Saturday, September the 8th, 1906. The next day, a sign was placed on the cage explaining the new exhibit.
The African Pygmy, Ota Benga. Age 23 years. Height 4 feet 11 inches. Weight 103 pounds. Brought from the Kasai River, Congo Free State. Exhibited each afternoon during September.
Thousands of New Yorkers came to stare and laugh and debate the meaning of the display. Is it a man? Some of them wondered. Newspaper coverage brought even more people, and in just a few weeks, The zoo drew nearly 250,000 visitors. But the notoriety also brought controversy. New York's clergy, in particular, were horrified at what they saw as a dehumanizing spectacle. First to speak out was the Reverend Robert Stewart MacArthur, pastor of the city's Calvary Baptist Church, one of the largest Baptist congregations in America.
The person responsible for this exhibition degrades himself as much as he does the African. Instead of making a beast of this little fellow, he should be put in school.
Ministers from New York's African American community soon organized a protest committee. After visiting the zoo and seeing Benga for themselves, they were horrified.
They thought it was outrageous. They clearly saw a human being who appeared to be afraid, who was being heckled and jeered at and things thrown at him, and he was being, debased on the hallowed grounds of the New York Zoological Society in New York City.
The ministers demanded that Ota Benga be taken off display and be offered an education. James H. Gordon, superintendent of the Howard Colored Orphan Asylum in Brooklyn, appealed to the zoo to end the spectacle.
If Professor Werner found difficulty in disposing of the boy, why did he not apply to us? We would have seen that he was well cared for.
Gordon also denounced the way the young African was being used as a prop to prove Darwinian evolution.
This is a Christian country, and the exhibition evidently aims to be a demonstration of the Darwinian theory of evolution. The Darwinian theory of evolution absolutely is opposed to Christianity, and a public demonstration in its favor should not be permitted. Neither the Negro nor the white man is related to the monkey. Such an exhibition only degrades a human being's manhood. We do not like this exhibition of one of our race with the monkeys. Our race, we think, is depressed enough without exhibiting one of us with the apes. We think we are worthy of being considered human beings with souls.
Samuel Werner tried to deflect the criticism, denying that he put Ota Benga on display to show that he was somehow subhuman.
If Ota Benga is in a cage, he is only there to look after the animals.
Zoo director Hornaday meanwhile declared that the black minister's protest was ridiculous.
Though a believer myself in the Darwinian theory, I had no idea of using the exhibition to enforce it. The boy is on exhibition simply because the public wishes to see him. He is well treated and happy. To say that the boy is placed in the cage to show his similarities to the monkey is nonsense. He is much more intelligent than many white men whom I have known.
Hornaday made clear that he wasn't about to shut down the popular exhibit.
The exhibition shall certainly be continued, unless the directors of the park decide otherwise.
But the leaders of the New York Zoological Society were pleased by the display. Henry Fairfield Osborne even congratulated Hornaday for the excellent press coverage, commenting that Benga is certainly making his way successfully as a sensation. Spurned by Hornaday, the African-American ministers decided to appeal to George McClellan Jr., the Democratic mayor of New York. McClellan was the son of the controversial general during the Civil War who had tried to unseat Abraham Lincoln in the presidential election of 1864. The elder McClellan openly confessed that he was prejudiced in favor of the white race and said that he couldn't learn to like the odor of either billy goats or Negroes. The younger McClellan now refused to even meet with the African-American ministers, sending out an assistant with a dismissive note referring them to the New York Zoological Society. The ministers then went to see Madison Grant, the Zoological Society's secretary. Grant was a prominent member of New York Society. A graduate of Yale, he received a law degree from Columbia. He was also a trustee of the American Museum of Natural History, a counselor of the American Geographical Society, and a founder of the Bronx Zoo. It would have been hard for the ministers to find someone less sympathetic. Grant was an open racist who thought blacks were an inferior race and regarded those who had parents of different races as mongrels. Within a decade, he would write The Passing of the Great Race. a book which championed Nordic supremacy and keeping blacks subservient to whites. The book was reportedly praised by Adolf Hitler as his Bible. Grant also rebuffed the ministers. So did the city's most prominent newspaper, the New York Times, which professed to be puzzled by the anger of the protesters.
We do not quite understand all the emotion which others are expressing in the matter.
Describing African pygmies as very low in the human scale, the Times made clear that it viewed pygmies as less than fully human.
Whether they are really closer to the anthropoid apes than the other African savages, or whether they are viewed as the degenerate descendants of ordinary Negroes, they are of equal interest to the student of ethnology and can be studied with profit.
The editors at the Times thought it absurd to make moan over the imagined humiliation and degradation Ota Benga was suffering. In fact, they claimed the pygmy was probably enjoying himself.
The suggestion that Benga should be placed in a school instead of a cage ignores the high probability that school would be a place of torture to him, and one from which he could draw no advantage whatever. The idea that men are all much alike except as they have had or lacked opportunities for getting an education out of books is now far out of date.
After African American ministers criticized the zoo for trying to use Ota Benga to prove Darwinian evolution, the New York Times weighed in again.
The Reverend Colored Brother should be told that evolution, in one form or another, is now taught in the textbooks of all the schools, and that it is no more debatable than the multiplication table.
As protests continued, increasingly rowdy crowds came to the zoo in order to visit the pygmy. On Sunday, September 16th, 40,000 people converged on zoo grounds to see the city's newest sensation. According to press reports, the mobs chased Ota Benga around the zoo all day, howling, jeering and yelling. Some of them poked him in the ribs, others tripped him. All laughed at him. Benga responded by shooting an arrow at his tormentors, after which zookeepers caught him and returned him to his cage. As both crowds and Ota Benga became unruly, zoo director Hornaday grew increasingly defensive. He now claimed that he had decided to exhibit Ota Benga in a cage simply for convenience.
We have no platform that we could place him on, and this big open-air cage was the best place we could find to put him where everybody could see him.
Eventually, the continued controversy made Hornaday want to wash his hands of the whole affair. Ultimately, an agreement was reached to move Ota Benga to the Howard Colored Orphan Asylum and later to a seminary in Lynchburg, Virginia. There, nearly 10 years later, Ota Benga shot himself to death. Benga had expressed a desire to return to his native Africa, but by 1916, the continent was being further ravaged by European powers as they fought World War I, so return was no longer an option.
I think the hopelessness of it all, the trauma he had sustained, the loneliness, and I can't even imagine. He had no idea what had become of his people, if his village was still even there. So it's not hard to imagine the myriad reasons why he would have sunk into this deep depression and that ultimately caused him to take his life.
In one final indignity, the New York Times published an obituary assuring readers that during Ota Benga's stay in their city, he was actually an employee of the Bronx Zoo who had been hired to feed the apes. According to the Times, it was this employment that gave rise to the unfounded report that Ota Benga was being held in the park as one of the exhibits in the monkey cage. Ota Benga was largely forgotten by history until the 1990s. But the passion of social Darwinists in America for putting humans on display continued. And 15 years later, some of the same figures involved in the Ota Benga scandal would be involved in another kind of human display, one whose impact would prove even more horrifying. In September of 1921, leading scientists from around the globe gathered at the American Museum of Natural History in New York City for the Second International Congress of Eugenics. Eugenics was the science of breeding better people. The term had been coined by Charles Darwin's cousin, Francis Galton. But Darwin himself helped lay the groundwork for eugenics in his book, The Descent of Man. According to Darwin, human beings developed through a long and cruel process of natural selection or survival of the fittest. Less fit organisms died, leaving more capable organisms to reproduce and flourish. It was this ruthless process of elimination, not the foresight of a designer, that had propelled human beings to the top of the evolutionary ladder. But Darwin worried that modern society was now doing its best to undermine natural selection.
We civilized men do our utmost to check the process of elimination. We build asylums for the imbecile, the maimed and the sick. We institute poor laws, and our medical men exert their utmost skill to save the life of everyone to the last moment. There is reason to believe that vaccination has preserved thousands who, from a weak constitution, would formerly have succumbed to smallpox. No one who has attended to the breeding of domestic animals would doubt that this must be highly injurious to the race of man. Hardly anyone is so ignorant as to allow his worst animals to breed.
A kindly man, Darwin was troubled by the implications of his theory for society. But his followers had a solution. They thought they could apply Darwinian selection rationally and humanely through the science of eugenics, which became known as the self-direction of human evolution. Eugenics was eagerly embraced by America's scientific elites.
Sometimes today it's argued that eugenics was just fringe science, just a few people believed in it, and of course we don't believe in it now. That ignores the fact that for decades, eugenics was what could be called the consensus view of the scientific community.
The Eugenics Congress at the American Museum of Natural History drew scientists from America's top research institutions, including Harvard, Yale, MIT, the Smithsonian, Ohio State, UC Berkeley, and the University of Texas. Participants included inventor Alexander Graham Bell and Charles Darwin's own son, Leonard, who lashed out at the threat biological defectives posed to modern society. Scientists were welcomed to the Eugenics Congress by then-president of the American Museum of Natural History, Henry Fairfield Osborn, who had been involved in the display of Ota Benga at the Bronx Zoo. A future head of the American Association for the Advancement of Science, Osborn had become one of the most celebrated scientific champions of evolution in America. Soon he would become embroiled in a controversy with politician William Jennings Bryan over a fossilized tooth discovered in Nebraska. Osborn insisted that the tooth supplied irrefutable evidence of the existence of man-like apes in ancient North America. To his embarrassment, the tooth later turned out to be part of an extinct pig. At the Eugenics Congress, Osborn told scientists that eugenics was essential to the future of human evolution.
To know the worst as well as the best in heredity, to preserve and to select the best, these are the most essential forces in the future evolution of human society.
Osborn also attacked racial intermarriage.
500,000 years of human evolution have impressed certain distinctive virtues as well as faults on each race. Put three races together, you are likely to unite the vices of all three as the virtues.
Osborn argued that racial groups should be studied to determine what tasks each race is best fitted to accomplish. But it was clear that he already thought he knew the proper place of non-whites.
If the Negro fails in government, he may become a fine agriculturalist or a fine mechanic.
The American Museum of Natural History accompanied the Eugenics Congress with a major museum exhibition designed to sell eugenics to the American public. Participants included America's top publishers, insurance companies, government agencies, and private groups like the American Red Cross. As many as 10,000 people attended the special exhibition. There were no live humans put on display at the eugenics exhibit, but it was still a kind of human zoo. it put human racial groups under the microscope to judge their worth to society. There were displays highlighting differences between black and white babies in the womb, displays comparing the mental stamina of different races, displays reporting on the capabilities of immigrants, and displays showcasing equipment for measuring human intelligence and other features. There also were displays about the human brain. One compared the brains of criminals and non-criminals. But the most extensive brain display was created by anthropologist Alois Hrdlicka from his growing collection of embalmed brains. Hrdlicka left his original specimens stored in jars at the Smithsonian, but he brought gelatin models of the embalmed brains of apes and 3 races of humans. Hrdlicka's presentation filled 7 separate display cases. It also included a series of skulls from Native Americans. The skulls purported to show that Native American brains revealed primitive features from earlier stages of evolution. In the midst of more sophisticated displays were cruder exhibits featuring the blatantly racist books of Madison Grant and Lothrop Stoddart. Stoddart had published The Rising Tide of Color Against White World Supremacy. Stoddart claimed that whites were in danger of being overrun by the colored races of the world, and he argued that immigration from what he called lower human types had to be rigorously curtailed.
Eugenists pretty universally viewed immigrants and people of non-white races as a drag on the human race. Eugenists viewed blacks and Mexicans and Hispanics as throwbacks, evolutionary throwbacks that were lower races in evolutionary terms and therefore were a drain on modern society. And they justified this in the name of Darwinian science. You know, there were racists before the eugenists. The interesting thing about the eugenists was the way that they built on top of Darwinian biology and claimed that there was a scientific justification for racism.
The eugenics exhibition advocated a chilling agenda for public policy, including forced sterilization and harsh new restrictions on immigration. It also promoted a radical proposal advanced by the Eugenics Record Office, one of the eugenics groups participating in the exhibition. The proposal called for assembling biological profiles on all Americans to determine whether they were biologically fit to mate.
The Eugenics Records Office was so extreme, they wanted to hold records on everyone in the United States, biological records showing their family trees, so that if you wanted to marry someone, you could write to them and they could tell you whether the person you were wanting to marry had a fit family tree in evolutionary terms, so that you could marry them, or if they had bad heredity so that you couldn't. And in fact, they had exercises and packets that were given to biology teachers around the country, that one of the exercises you were supposed to do in your biology class when you were studying evolution and then eugenics was to have kids fill out this form with their family tree of who were the black sheeps of the family, what diseases they had in the family, so that these could then be sent off to the Eugenics Records Office and their vaults, and so that they could keep records on everyone.
The American Museum of Natural History later called the Eugenics Congress of 1921 perhaps the most important scientific meeting ever held in the museum. A decade later, the museum was at it again, hosting the Third International Congress of Eugenics in 1932. This time, it put on an even more extensive museum exhibition for the public. At the entrance to the exhibit hall were placed the busts of 2 men accredited as the founding fathers of eugenics, Francis Galton and Charles Darwin. Although some scientists raised concerns about eugenics, probably the strongest opposition to the movement came from traditional religion.
It's a story that Americans don't know as well as they should, and it's a story that American Christians don't know as well as they should. But at the basis of opposition to the so-called scientific eugenicist movement in the early 20th century were Christians, Protestants, Baptists, Catholics, who understood the value of every human being. That's not only a Christian value, that is fundamental to the American experiment itself.
When Nebraska's legislature passed a forced sterilization bill in 1913, Governor John Moorhead, a Presbyterian, vetoed it. Moorhead argued that the legislation not only violated the state's Bill of Rights, it also offended a higher law.
This proposed legislation seems more in keeping with the pagan age than with the teachings of Christianity. Man is more than an animal.
While many modernist clergy supported eugenics, theologically conservative religious figures were much more skeptical. American evangelical William Jennings Bryan, for example, denounced eugenics as an impossible system for scientific breeding under which a few supposedly superior intellects, self-appointed, would direct the mating and the movements of the mass of mankind. But the most consistent opposition to eugenics came from Roman Catholics. In 1930, Pope Pius XI strongly condemned forced sterilization for eugenics in one of his encyclicals. The Pope criticized eugenists for asking the government to assume a power which it can never legitimately possess.
The most fundamental principle of Catholic social teaching is the intrinsic dignity of every human being. In other words, people are valuable simply as creatures made in the image and likeness of God. They're not valuable merely because they have economic value or they're productive or they're smart. They have value in and of themselves as spiritual creatures made in God's image. That idea obviously contradicts the fundamental principle of eugenics, which is through either passive or active means to favor particular ethnic groups over others.
Across America, Catholic clergy actively resisted the eugenics crusade. In Louisiana, the Catholic Church played a key role in preventing the passage of a sterilization law. Catholic opposition to eugenics was so pronounced that some eugenics groups targeted the Catholic Church for attacks. The Human Betterment Foundation in California was dedicated to promoting eugenics through forced sterilization. Its president, E.S. Gosney, lashed out at Catholic efforts to block sterilization laws.
Every legislature considering a sterilization bill in the United States is visited by representatives of the bishop or archbishop who lay down the law of Rome to those willing to accept it. The henchmen are prompt to fall in line.
Gosney suggested that the Catholic Church should be asked to pay for Catholics who aren't sterilized.
If Catholics do not want their feeble-minded communicants sterilized, it would seem more logical to ask them, as Hitler has done in Germany, to keep these feeble-minded segregated at their own expense, in order that the American Commonwealth may be subjected to no unnecessary damage from the presence of a great body of defectives, who increase the amount of human misery, contribute largely to the ranks of the delinquent and criminal, augment the tax burdens, diminish the efficiency of industry, and dilute the quality of American citizenship.
The eugenics movement and the supporters of eugenics in the early 20th century actually tried to make an anti-Catholic campaign part of their public argument. On the one hand, they claimed that their ideas were based firmly in natural science, and yet they actually ran a public campaign that was anti-religious. You get the impression that there was something more than simple empirical science at stake in the debate.
Despite opposition from Catholics and others, the American eugenics movement continued to flourish in the years leading up to World War II. The eugenics movement eventually led to the forced sterilization of more than 60,000 people in America. Compulsory sterilization in the name of eugenics was ultimately upheld by the United States Supreme Court in a decision that declared, 3 generations of imbeciles are enough. Many of those sterilized would not be considered mentally handicapped today. The eugenics movement also succeeded in securing the passage of a draconian immigration law that sharply restricted the flow of non-Nordic ethnic groups into the United States. While considering the legislation, the United States Congress invited testimony by a leading eugenist on the biological aspects of immigration.
Starting in the 1920s in particular, there was a huge push for immigration restrictions on people who were coming from non-Germanic, non-Northern European countries, and so people coming from Mexico to the United States, or people coming from Africa or Southern European countries that had people that the eugenists viewed as evolutionarily backwards, they had to be stopped because they were going to destroy our society.
But the most horrifying implementation of eugenics policies took place not in America, but in Nazi Germany. The Nazis ultimately sterilized more than 300,000 supposed hereditary defectives in the name of eugenics. They then started gassing the disabled at special medical facilities. It was in these killing centers that the Nazis began to perfect the methods they would later use to exterminate Jews. The sordid history of eugenics and the mainstream scientific community's embrace of it remains completely unknown to many Americans. So does the scientific community's involvement with social Darwinism and scientific racism, including human zoos. It's a history some people are still trying to cover up. Geneticist James Watson won the Nobel Prize for co-discovering the structure of DNA. But in 2007, he sparked outrage when he suggested that African blacks were genetically inferior to European whites. Echoing the arguments of scientific racists from the past, Watson claimed that black inferiority was due to evolution.
There is no firm reason to anticipate that the intellectual capacities of peoples geographically separated in their evolution should prove to have evolved identically. James Watson.
Watson was widely condemned for his comments, both inside and outside of the scientific community. It was an indication of how times have changed. But although scientific racism no longer receives support from mainstream science, many in the scientific community remain reluctant to honestly discuss the past. Sharon Weston Broome is mayor of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In 2001, she was a member of the Louisiana House of Representatives when she proposed a resolution to encourage teaching students about the history of scientific racism. The resolution highlighted Darwin's views on race, as well as how his views had been exploited by other scientists, such as Ernst Haeckel, to promote racism. The resolution also encouraged teaching students more recent scientific findings supporting racial equality.
I'm not asking you to take evolution out of the school. I am merely asking the legislature, the State Department of Education, the Board of Regents, and the state university systems that they be made aware that Darwin promoted the justification of racism in his definitive works on the origin of species by means of natural selection and the descent of man. I certainly understand that racism was in effect before Darwin. This has never been denied. Yet he was the originator of a scientific justification for racism, as well as giving wings to modern racism. Harvard University's Stephen Jay Gould wrote, quote, "Biological arguments for racism may have been common before 1859, but they increased by orders of magnitude following the acceptance of evolutionary theory."
Broome's resolution provoked a firestorm, with supporters of Darwin's theory accusing her of trying to unfairly malign Charles Darwin.
This resolution is not only a product of creationists, but also Christian supremacists. And Christian supremacism is a hate-based ideology, and you can't combat hatred with hatred.
I never, ever have emulated any type of hate towards anyone.
The resolution only passed after all references to Darwin and Haeckel were deleted. It was as if scientific racism had never happened. But Louisiana isn't the only state where the past misuse of science has been censored. In 2007, the Kansas State Board of Education rewrote a statewide curriculum standard about the history of science. The standard originally called for students to understand both the positive and negative aspects of science on society, including how science can be abused. As examples of the abuse of science, the original standard cited the eugenics movement, scientific racism, and the infamous Tuskegee syphilis experiment, where government researchers left poor black men untreated for syphilis in order to observe the progression of the disease. The Kansas Board of Education revised the curriculum standard to eliminate any study of the abuses of science. Now students would only learn about how science had improved society. The original standard did not mention Darwin or Darwin's theory. That did not stop proponents of rewriting the standard from claiming they were defending the teaching of evolution. But public officials aren't the only ones who have tried to cover up the history of scientific racism. Some of the institutions most involved in promoting scientific racism in the past are still suppressing their own history. The American Museum of Natural History remains one of the world's leading science museums, but to this day, it has never apologized for the role it played in promoting the international eugenics movement. It has also tried to downplay the role of scientists in promoting scientific racism. In 2005, the museum mounted a major new exhibition on the life and legacy of Charles Darwin. The exhibition is still available today as a traveling exhibit. The exhibit contains a section on social Darwinism that fails to acknowledge any involvement by the scientific community in either eugenics or scientific racism. Even more glaringly, the exhibit also fails to disclose the museum's own role in promoting social Darwinist policies like eugenics. According to the current exhibit, social Darwinism had no real connection with either Darwin or science.
The fact of the matter is that if you read the scientists of the day, in the late 19th and early 20th century, many of them were promoting racism and even racial extermination, extinction of races. They were promoting the gaining of living space. They were promoting competition, the things that we know of as social Darwinism. These were things being promoted by Charles Darwin himself to some degree, many other leading biologists, Ernst Haeckel in Germany, and many others. You could go on. And by the 1920s and 30s, they were becoming very prominent. If you look especially in the field of anthropology and evolutionary anthropology, many of them were promoting social Darwinism. This was not just an idea of some cranks or some political people that didn't really understand the science. This was an idea that was very prominent in scientific circles.
Officials at the American Museum of Natural History declined a request to be interviewed for this documentary. Their stated reason was that filmmakers were unable to purchase $2 million in insurance. The museum also turned down repeated requests to answer questions about its history in writing. Officials at the Bronx Zoo are likewise skittish when it comes to discussing its display of Ota Benga. They also refuse to be interviewed. And if you visit the zoo today, you won't find any remembrance of what happened to Ota Benga.
Instead, what they've done is they've closed off the monkey house. So where Ota Benga was housed, the public could not even see it now. And they have just not had any comment whatsoever.
It's as if zoo officials hope that Ota Benga and the scientific racism that dehumanized him will stay forgotten. Others seem to share the same hope. But some things should never be forgotten, because things that are forgotten have a way of coming back. The recent resurgence of white supremacist groups in America has raised chilling echoes of the past. Evolutionary arguments for racism that were rejected by the scientific community are now being resurrected by modern racists. In 2009, white supremacist James Von Brunn drove to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C., where he fatally shot an African-American security guard. Von Brunn had published a manifesto arguing that crossbreeding whites with species lower on the evolutionary scale diminishes the white gene pool while increasing the number of mongrels. Richard Spencer is a leader of the so-called alt-right. He argues that, quote, Darwinism offers a compelling and rational justification for whites to act on behalf of their ancestors and progeny and feel a shared sense of destiny with their extended kin group, unquote. In a 2017 study, more than 400 self-identified members of the alt-right revealed that they view blacks, Mexicans, and other racial and ethnic groups as less evolved and closer to humans' ape-like ancestors than whites. The misuse of science to promote racism is no longer just a sad relic of our history. it's also an uncomfortable part of our present. One reason we should remember the sins of the past is to help us avoid making the same mistakes again. We need to learn from the past, not cover it up.
And the ultimate truth, reality, the facts of life. And hear me now. And the ultimate truth, reality, the facts. And hear me now. And the ultimate truth, reality, the facts of life. Hey, follow me now. 5 and 4 can. And hear me now. And the ultimate truth, reality. And hear me now. And the ultimate truth, reality. The facts of life. Hey, follow me now. 5 and 4 can never be 10. Say where me and no Eden can never be friend. Oh no, listen me. Take it as me tell you, no, it's just one of the laws of life. Come follow me now, hey. For this one you not to stop and check. Without a man and a woman, no baby can make. Hey, hey, nah, give me no inner, that is just one of the laws of life. Tell them no digital. Say forget the skin color, every man blood red. YOLO, enjoy your life cause everyone happy dead. No, I know me, make it up, it's just one of the laws of life. Hey, follow me, come make we tell them about the laws of life. Listen the laws of life. Try your best not get swallowed up by the jaws of life. Difficulties in your life, those are the scars of life. Don't make them stop you from reaping the rewards of life. Can you know see? Scientists I wonder know with Mars of life. I try to calculate what is the cause of life. But I man to give thanks we all of life. Nurture the youth, them are the joys of. For me say they can never be night. Same way two rank can never be right. Yes, I'm a granny tell me so. And she says just the laws of life. Then you see, hey, where the sun up and rise in the east. As long as there's injustice, there won't be no peace. Then go ask the police. Then we tell you say it's just the laws of life. Then hear me now. God bless people with black reverence and pray every morning. Cause we know so no matter what the devil can win, the Almighty that protect me. Just one of the laws of life. Then hear me now, no. His God tell them about the laws. Tell them about the laws. The laws them nah give me no if no but and no because. The law them say, no man lose the way over the thing they. And agreed make no money not behind the bars. The laws of life, ultimate you can't deny them. And no judge and no lawyer can't try them. Put it on the song, you have to share it with the item. You can't go wrong if you live by them. So me say 5 and 4 can never be 10. Say where me and no Eden can never be friend. Oh no hear me, take it as me tell you no. Just one of the laws of life. Hey, follow me, every line man say, for this I want to have to stop and check. Without a man and a woman, no baby can't make. Hey, nah, give me none of that. Just one of the laws of life. Hear me now. My man said forget the skin color, every man blood red. You only live once and every man happy dead. So you are, I know me say so. Just one of the laws of life. Hey, follow me, come it with.
Yes. So you see, oh, curiosity of a set of people make the continent population look like we're insignificant. And then them use the word science to justify their curiosity. And that curiosity leads them to supremacy within themselves. And we, who I say in the diaspora that we do this, we do that, you want to stop that. You understand? We did things at home. We never do things abroad. And then when we come abroad, it come like we have no chat. You understand? And that is terrible. And you see the man Darwin now. Darwin, England, Germany, France, and them eugenics and all of these things. You understand? So you see, to rid the earth, a set of people on the earth of racism, the same mannerisms and policies that these Ashkenazi have with anti-Semitic hostility, and that we need. But true, it is all of them against African black people. How is that going to change? So the best thing to do, as my Imam says, leave the people them alone and concentrate on ourselves. You understand? Because even the one them that go a Bible, them say Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, and the people them in a religious circle, theological circle called Christian them, take that literally, that the Almighty curse we, curse we and make we black. Okay. Then it even get worse because it is that the reason for that is I'm supposed to have laughed at my father, who is a prophet of God, and him is now done something despicable. And I laugh whilst my brothers them turn them face and so all this story here, who give them this story? And not Allah, not God do that. This is that these terrible people in them something there. And you just keep following this trend. And they didn't even make us. They taught us. And then we mature. And we stay with it. You see how foolish we did? We are. I tell you, it's a serious thing, you know. It's a serious thing. You see, it's a very, very serious thing. And around science and birth control and biology, sterilization, the eugenics, and we have not removed, we have not fought, we have not gone to court, we have not fought for the dignity of us as a people. So now some people should look and see why them like we, or them like watch we in athletics. Because them say that's the animal instinct in a way. So when we play all basketball and we hover through the air, and do some amazing things and so forth, then people are saying to themselves, you see, I told you, see what our ancestors told us, they're animals. They don't have soul like us. See? And we think so that the people them are enjoy we. Nah, man. They might look upon we just like them have the dog, and the dog is more dear to them than we. See? And because we make some money, we make money for them. See? The whole entertainment, play and amusement, are their benefits, not ours. We're twofold. The people that we lack, I when I sense it. So then when them try the Jesus Christ thing and all the understanding of what they want to put out there as a God something, we lap it up. And when I lap up our own, so then them teach we how to discriminate against ourselves. And then you get these boy them come out so about Arab this and Arab that and rare, and they don't know nothing about nothing. And then they want to say that Arabs, the persons, the people them that did slavery first, and them teach the Caucasian them for the slavery and everything. But we not say that the people them Arabia and ourselves make us our man into eunuchs. We not say that never happened. When I see them despicable thing never happen, you know. But how you come by saying this, you see? So now instead of we come home, we draw away from home and we put 2 backs and a uppercut and 2 kick upon ourselves. And yet still we are shout out Africa. I don't understand them kind of reasoning. I don't understand them kind of reasoning. And then them falsify the whole something to make it appear that them now support white supremacy. And a white supremacy them I work with, because them live, dream, eat, and appreciate it. And then them have degree and PhD and MA and everything. And they're not confident. You see? So my mother, I know what I mean? My mother is right, always. An educational person don't mean say that them have sense in her. That's what she said. And most educational people are damn fools. That's what she said. Right? I mean, I raise you not to be foolish. You understand? Check, reference, and cross-check. And always remember who you are and where you come from. And hold on to that little bit that you have. You understand? And sensibility is the key. Yeah? Hold on, man. Come.
Whoa, whoa. Shine low in digital once again. My sweet reggae music, everyone choose it. Why should you stay from me so long? There's good times and bad times, but reggae keep me smiling all the while. After every storm the sun will shine, captivate your soul and relax my mind. Each day as you slumber, your days that will be numbered, your nights will be getting colder. Reggae is my shield and armor, so I gotta get my life in order. In other words, to survive. This world is filled with demons. They're taking so much life. Give thanks for this wonderful music that opened up my eyes. Just like the good book said, the pure would be dignified. My sweet reggae music, everyone's music. Why should you stay from me so long? This sweet reggae music, everyone chooses. Why should you stay from me so long? The choice is nice, the one that you make in life. Reggae is nice, reggae is sweet, reggae is unique, unique. Come step to the music with the history. Come on, let us celebrate the victory. When the king of music hits the street, the electric vibes will move your feet. Jump and put your hands in the air and scream and wave like you just don't care. To this sweet reggae music, to this sweet reggae music. My sweet reggae music, everyone's music.
You see the deception that the people then put fun with. Huh? That deception is some serious psychology, you know. You understand? And we don't even figure out how resourceful we are and all the access, you understand, that we have. We are tremendously resourceful because God did not make us not resourceful. For everything on this earth is our resource as human beings. You understand? But it's just a set of people that don't want that to happen, or they don't want to see that happening, that we acknowledge how resourceful we are. So it is ignorance that they've been teaching us, and it's ignorant behavior that we are portraying. Because if we know, we should do better. And I know that we know. But what is it that we are afraid of? We are afraid of people them who call we anti-Semitic. If we say something about ourselves that's so authentic. Huh? And because of that now, we don't want to make people them know the truth about ourselves because we need to question things. It's not we must say that we are gods. Are rubbish that talking that. We're supposed to question these deliberate acts that's been infringed upon us for decades. No, we want to question reparation. No, we're supposed to question our humanity, how these people despicably deal with us. Right? And by the time we deal with that, or dealt with that, then all other things will have follow. And me, I say that way. Other things will have follow. You understand? The brutalization that we keep suffering is because the people them still see us as lacking the soul of human beings. Who tell them that? Where them get that understanding, so-called understanding from? Where did them decipher that something from? Huh? God never said to them, yo, I made one set of people with a soul and another set of people, subhumans, without a soul. That's why some black people them speak of two Adam and two Eve and all this something. And then them come with this evolutionary thing that like Darwin and these people, that we evolve over a period of time out of apes. Are you foolish? So why is this thing supposed to have happened? White people jump ahead, Caucasians, and the black stayed back. And evolution stopped. The human evolutionist thing stopped. So black people is still evolving, where they stop still. So Caucasians, them evolve and become super. Yo. Something wrong with that. And you have people today, them have this evolutional understanding, dissertation. Today. among us in reasoning and them clarify all of that something. And I'm saying, yo, you had girls to take them people something, you know. And them going to show you skeleton heads and everything and say, watch, you see that gorilla there, see that monkey, see that chimpanzee. That's where we there. So I said, okay, so where's the Caucasian them? No, they're ahead of us. So if they're ahead of us here, what's this talk that we understand about Kemet? No, they're actually Caucasian. Yo, may I tell you, man? Serious thing. Serious thing. And I lie me I chat to know. A serious thing. People, I tell you. Music.
Yellow fingers always all I bring. Digital beam love with the mouth swing. I'm one DJ instead of sing. So make me do me thing. Hear me out. Man a general, no, we no rookie in this. Rookie in this, we no rookie in this. Hey, pagans, don't put a foot in this. Foot in this, no put a foot in this. Mind your line, boy, don't.
See, people that behave like say, we not do nothing right. And then we are doing thing, and then we get frightened. And then we are doing thing, and we change and do the thing that them want. So now our reggae is gone south. Our consciousness have gone south. And our rationale is running around. Because why? We want to be on Billboard. Yes, we want to be big Billboard. We want to be up there and get Grammy and rare and tear. And then them lie by telling people, say, oh, them love the music. Which love which music? They don't have no love for the thing. It's money them a look. So instead of them giving the message for us, they might get a message for Caucasian. What Caucasian want? And now Caucasian now see the opportunity to transform and clone us. Our women, they want to look like man, and our man want to look like women. And then them feel that we are at this moment to say things that are going on in them brain, which the man them who are give them this money and I transform the images want them to say. So soon we will get a new language. Not Semitic language now. We're gonna get a new musical language, a new musical genre. So instead of them talk about gun, they're going to talk about something else. And it's going to be close to eugenics. And it's going to be full of sexuality. And that's where it's going. That's where it's at. But them not push it. But it's there. And anybody who want to change now, them have so much on them that all of a sudden now, them not have no wealth. They don't see themselves as prosperous again because the money that them get, it see make it run through them and like sand. So now them have to sign agreements to launch and relaunch themselves. That's a set of people that was out there. So the young ones that are come now is already being manipulated. The young ones, because they're not into music. They're into electronical sounds. See? The transformation of our morality. And that white man, he knows that how God Almighty fashioned and created human beings, we all have a particular science and we all have a particular ingredients. And I'm saying, I say, that the African has the moral ground in humanity. The African. Not because I try big up myself, Examine the human ethics and the human behavior. The Caucasian is about death and lie and transformation. They're not contented. The Caucasian race of people, not contented. And they misuse research and transform things. And then become mentally powerful by creating weapons and diseases and experiment with human beings. And now them find that my meneling is a problem to them. And it's not a problem. Because if the Almighty never create me this way, I won't have it. And him create them, him fashion them a certain way. And them have it. But what them have? They left home. Them left home, which is Africa, and them went abroad. And like bastards, they never come back home. And then when them come back home, they come back home with a mental disease. What's that mental disease? That they're going to trod upon us. Archaeology is supposed to show them and them show us themselves, you know. That the origin of civilization in human beings come from Africa. So if we come from Africa, that means that they're our children. But they don't behave like that. And we don't behave like father and mother to them. Because they don't give us that opportunity. So we haven't done them anything. But what we do is left our morals and gone into their churches and take their theological stuff and start preach their thing. How they want it done. And confusing ourselves. So them know them have we trapped. Psychologically, them got we trapped. And we trap ourselves constantly. Then we start behave like them. Pedophile, sex, this, that. Yo, problems again. No matter how we twist and turn. Because we follow other people's dictates. It's a serious problem we have. We find ourselves in a serious problem. So the people them need to hear and examine Al-Islam. Keep running. Keep running. And there'll be no place to run. Because even a rock gonna cry out and ask you to move. I tell you, it's only a time. And remember, time is a lesson learned. And we've been here on this trotting long time. And we haven't made any progressive moves. Because breaking the world record, alleged, in 100 meters and 200 meters and all them, are nonsense. Why this man I use science and technology, and that's why him rob our continent of all the minerals and materials and the human bodies that's there. Because we not worship God and we not give thanks to God and we're not looking at the terrain and the natural resources that the Almighty is given to human beings. Is that strange? Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim give every human being everything, all the aid and support that we require. Most gracious, most merciful. Constantly giving. Cannot help God Almighty. Can't help do that. If it was down to man, he was able to bottle oxygen. Woo! He would have been, he would have tanked it up and charged with it. Just like him disturb water. And the water that we have in the pipe. Over the years of my life, him dirty it up. So when I feel good in drinking it, So we go get bottled water, and then more time the bottled water is the same tap water. The people them just put label on the plastic. Them got we trickified in many ways. They interfere with the natural scheme of things in the food that God Almighty give we. They want to speed it up and said, well, this is seedless and and so forth. Just to make profit, money. And many of us have followed them. Now we have she man, man he. He woman and she man. Huh? And we are feeling like, yo, this is great science. No, it's not. And then a lot of germ that them create. Why? Why? That's why the Pope couldn't talk about this pandemic, you know. Because the truth, he would have to utter the truth. And if he can't utter the truth, he would have had to condemn man of doing some ungodly things. Yeah, not throw aspersions at China and rare. And he would have had to condemn man for doing some atrocious things. So the best thing them tell him is not to say nothing. Now them are going with Russia and this Eastern European and NATO. Everybody want to show that they are very strong, looking for positioning. Then the same people in this country that tell everybody for do this, do that, come in the evening, 7 o'clock, right? We must come out and applaud the NHS, save our services, rare. And I'm trying to read that thing to understand what does it actually mean. And the same said people, along with the health officers and everybody, they all having a dance. Constantly, regularly, more than 16 them have. Because them take out 4 and leave 12. And no, I know somebody like me, I see that there's a lot of people that knew this thing, and there's people who set up the thing with the people that feel that them have a right and them can't do anything. And now those same people have turned and the set of people and that's supposed to be friends, and they're all colleagues in the same party. And one set of people I said, this person need to go. And someone like me, I said, no, hold on a second. Or you're going to take a one-man thing. I want to talk about democracy, and anybody that's a one-man thing, or anybody promote me as a one-man, is supposed to be a dictator. So I'm saying, yo, forget that. Get rid of all of them. Everybody that went to the party, whether it was the first one, the second one, everybody. Because if it's true them tell that so much thousands of people dead, and so much people got arrested, and so much people, even shop owners, got fined, yo, there shouldn't be no discussion. Because some of them people that me know that got fined. Man, them have the restaurant and police coming and get food, and a person coming rotted after the police. But no, the police coming after the person, because the person will take them food, and the police coming, and the owner stop, serve the person, and serve the police. When the person now get for them thing and come out, the police who is outside now arrest them, blow hole, and find them. Yes, legal, truthful. And the shops them that them say supposed to close a certain time, and the people do them thing and take things for go home and car for Miss Brown and Miss Allen and so forth that's near them and so forth. A good-hearted person. And the police them and these so-called council officials find the people them some serious rotted money. So these guys them, ministers of this, ministers of that, secretary of this, and commander of that, all of them supposed to be dismissed. But now, them I say, yo, who I say that? A black man. But let me see something now that them deemed to be anti-Semitic. Look how quick them going ban me, fine me, come and knock down my door and carry me police station and question me for what? 3 days. Up to 7 days and all kind of something. And then charge me for being disrespectful and then a few women them and man start cry. Rotted. I'm in big troubles. I'll be in big troubles. Serious problem, black people. And when I still in love with these people, you know, and then I love with
Looking at this stuff.
How I make them a behave so. How days make them stay so.
At this station.
How I make them a behave so. How days make them stay so. Yeah. We talk to the youths and still them not listen. Still them a go on like say them not no sense. Go and tell them Father got love for them. And if we do good and good will follow them. Some of them not gonna learn, them too hard of hearing. No, them not gonna learn, them no God fearing. Stop loving your friend, fighting against your neighbor. Remember you and them, I come from way back. Respect yourself, don't hold this a stranger, because the foundation stands forever.
You see when we say over here, sir, that we can read, it's not say we are boost up ourselves, you know. But there's a lot of people, including my mother and my father, them can read, you know. But you see when them reading, and them I read the white man something, they don't understand nothing. Serious thing. Because the same book that them just read tell you about a Yeshua and tell you about a Christ. And not tell you nothing about no Jesus. And then they go get another book that tell them about a Jesus Christ. And I'm saying, okay, Daddy, Mommy, look here. Where did that Jesus thing come from? Where did that J come from? How it get there? How him name this name and him get to name this name? Who do that? And then them start forgot some holy thing because them believe in the Pope, them believe in the bishop, them believe in the pastor and all these people. And they don't see them as black, you know. Them see them as Caucasian again. And anything that they say, because them got these titles, is authentic. And God has licensed them to speak. God has inspired them to decipher what he did not say. God is informed them to say, listen, correct me. That's how them go. Then them go put this guy called Paul in a God business and say that this book belonged to God. How him get in there? Him was a persecutor of Barabbas. He was a persecutor of Yahya. And not just persecuting, him killed too. But I wasn't there. This is their stories. This is their reports. And his name was Saul. And them transform him, whoever he is, into a guy named Paul. And then him start talk some funny talk that him go Damascus, on his way to Damascus, him see a vision, and him call this person, this vision, him call it Christ. But did he call it Christ? Him call it Jesus Christ. Not Yeshua. And him don't know Yeshua. And him never see Yeshua. Never. Yeshua had nothing to do with him. But he was killing and hunting down the people them that respond to Yeshua. And most importantly, he was a bounty killer for the disciples, which is like Sahabis of Yeshua. But people then fall in love with this guy that's responsible for the thing called not the Injil that the Muslim we are tell them about, but some call the New Testament. And then I got my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather confused. Confused. Even some Rasta Tarati that have nothing to do with our Bible, nothing to do with no formal education, but then they shift over there, sir, and see that Selassie showed, hey, yo, pure confusion. And then when you look upon me now and people like me and say, yeah, have we ever done anything for ourselves? And Rasta was supposed to be like, man, I have nothing to do with Babylon, you know. I have nothing to do with them Caucasian people. I have nothing to do with them slave master. Self-reliance. But them say self-reliance, one side of them face, and then got King James, the other side of them face. And use a justification to say His Imperial Majesty, rare, and tear, and I lie that. Nothing go so, nothing true there. Then them find them understand a word that's been beaten around by a few man them America. That a story is an allegory, can be called an allegory, and then run with that. And I don't know where they're going. Breaking world records. All the time, disregarding, won't have a look and try to examine, read, research Islam. But peeping at our females. Yes. You think so when I know? Peeping at our females. And feel so that you can cut a corner. And it not work. It's not working. It's not working. So now them decide to land base the Muslim. And then they want to come with this Portuguese misrepresentation and say that Arabs do this and Arabs do that. I am saying, ask the British where the African black Habashi, where are they? Where them put them out of Egypt, out of Libya, out of Tunisia, out of Morocco? Where they are? Just ask the British man. And why is it at it? Them they are down at Senegal and Sierra Leone. Ask the French. Because soon from now you're gonna hear about a lot of skeletons in the southern Sahara. So where you gonna see now? You're gonna make the French and the British tell you say that is terrorists, that is what the hell them call? Huh? And all these names. I should say why Islam always Muslims always get some thing that they want to stick upon we and call we terrorists and this and that. Why? And we help them mash up Sudan. And that's why because a lot of us don't know no history and don't research very well and don't ask our people anything. Plus we can't speak other language. So what the hell is it that we do? We go to sleep, we go to bed, we dream the white man message. And then we want to convince ourselves that we're educated, PhD and bachelor on it. Nah, star. It's not working with Africa. If you work with Africa, you have to learn an African language. You have to learn some African dialects. And not misrepresent Africa because you just want the ketty drum and then teach the girl them for twerk in a such a despicable manner. Huh? You're joking. And then the people are come tell you about Semitic. And then you don't even know not a damn thing about the language. And then them put anti on top of that to write it. And them don't come from nowhere in a fully precinct. Now them have the power of authority to get every administration across the earth to represent them when them feel so that they are victimized or some form of hostility. And who gets more hostile treatment? We. So we need to learn to cry. And that me I say, we have to learn to cry, man.
Sweet reggae music, real rebel music.
Yes, principal.
You know what you want? Real rebel music, sweet reggae music. That's what you want.
Can't change.
Sweet reggae music, real rebel music. Select a pony to rewind. Lift it up, flick your finger one more time. Big tune I play and I feel good vibes of flow. Come let me teach you about the dance when you know. I beg your pony to rewind. Lift it up, flick your finger one more time. Big song I play and I feel good vibes of flow. Come let me teach you about the dance when you know. What would I do without music? I could have never refused it. This world would be so cold. Nothing to.
You hear what I'm saying? Music, you know, not some electronic bar sounds. You understand? Music. See? Yes. What you call it? Players of instruments. Okay. Version.
Rasta. Why boast yourself in all of your riches? Suffer yourself just for vanity. Man, if you stumble and you fall, get up and go harder. You're back against the wall with so much questions to answer. Giving up is not an option. So if
you see, that's what I'm saying. I'm not better than anybody, you know. But you see over here, we have sensibility. See? Can't draw a card like us, can't put the conversation like us, and just drop the bars them, lyrics them, morality in the right sense. Right space, you understand? Reggae music. One, a full culture. You know see? And I'm still a Muslim. Can't change, won't change, will die this way. So Panatala, me I tell you, God willing. At this way, me I go out, God willing. And at this way, as a Muslim, me I go get buried. Me I go sit over here, sir, and then me I go down the church, and some pastor guy come talking some foolishness, and my family I put on dress on me and shoes on me and ring. No, aya. You understand? When we came out to the wound, we was naked. You see? When we are going to the ground, 2 pieces of cloth. Yes, finish. But the body will smell nice because we got wash. They're going to wash it, put some perfume on it. Why is my wife them lamenting and everything? And then they put me down in the hole and cover up that and finish. Yes. What happened to that? Nothing. I tell you, cause we'll go back. We're fashioned from mud, clay, whatever. But the soul is the most important part. You know, the soul is going back to the Creator. So where the body decays, you understand? Well, it be hidden because if you leave it up top, it can look bad and rotten and everything. So it go down under. Okay, germinate everything, and then make good what you call the thing for new breed of plants and grass and everything, fertilize the place. But you see the soul? Yo. And anybody who dispute that, you see, every day, since we've been alive, since we come out to the womb, we've been shedding skin. Yes. You understand? Tons of it. You understand? Our bodies, our flesh does decay. So when it loses itself, it going rotten. But you see the engine that we can't touch, the engine, that's something we call the soul, the spirit, that goes back to the Creator. See? And that is going to be our blueprint. That is going to be our hard drive. And this stupid man that come and confuse many humans about how he perceived the origin of man, them too will get their Waterloo also. Believe you me. But then you got to say to yourself now, oh, you know, because we believe what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have said. And we believe what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala project. And we believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's signs because we can see them. We have seen them and we do see them and we acknowledge them. You understand? And not no kind of a high-fluted foolishness. See? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always asks us, to examine and to look. Look at the signs. So some people think about them talk about signs of the future, signs of some planetary. No, man. Why is you live? You can see. You recognize. You understand? And it's not a drama. You understand? It's not a drama. It's reality. It's reality. It's real. But the other thing there, is man. Is man trying to understand his terrain. And him right where he want to right. Because him trying to conclude and him trying to outdraw the Creator. You understand? But we, most human beings that use them rational, they don't work like that. We're always just trying to find how we become here, what is here, how to use what is here. See? And to always be contented with that. See? So we continue to mature and we evolve and we take the natural resources that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us and make use of it and we keep moving. Yes, generation that come right now, car start fly. Car, motor car. You see how car gone electronic? Yeah? By the time my children them come, new things have come to because you see the young people them bright. You see, every time there's a genesis, keep moving. But there's a set of people who want to say, yo, you outgrow God now, and we are do this. No, not go so. Examine Kemet. Kemet reached a pinnacle to but it wasn't us. It was another set of people that came in, there and interfere. So the chastisement happened with Moses, Musa alayhi salam. But after that, now you see all these people from the place we call Mesopotamia and all these different peoples came in. And even those, what the people call Romans came in. You know, one fell in love with what, and them have the boy Mark Antony and then the Caesar. All these little things have happened. But where are we now? We are dealing with this information as abstract information till we don't set up ourselves and have institution of learning in England. See? In the diaspora, we're supposed to have school and colleges. Yes. And linking ourselves with our brothers and sisters on the continent. Yes. But what have we been doing? Nothing. So here we go again. Yo, I have to go back again now. Tune a wicked, terrible.
Rasta. Why boast yourself in all of your riches? Suffer yourself just for vanity. Man, if you stumble and you fall, get up and go harder. You're back against the wall with so much questions to answer. Giving up is not an option. So if them tell me if you walk me and run, the system was designed to keep us like bomb in the streets. Education is the most, but some will never find the feet. We work so hard for the week, but yet we can't find those who think our food feet. Only Jah who knows what we face sometimes. The hunger and the poverty, the crime. Jah, you know, see many life is.
Yo, Coca Tea, we need some dry moon, you know. Raw moon. Where you see, man? Coca Tea. You understand? Watch it.
Let us make a love here tonight. La 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 la.
Listen, music.
Oh,
lyrics. Yes, man. Listen.
Yes, every woman got them things and time. Oh.
Tell them.
Oh.
Tell them again.
Yes, every woman got them things and time. Oh.
Teach them.
Oh. Woman in pain, for 9 months she travail. Oh. Will live on, your works will carry you on. Hey, after sun comes rain, so I'm gonna bless you for your pain. Never.
See, they're the signs, you understand? You can't deny that. They're the signs. Signs in nature. Signs to the eye, the vision of the human beings. You understand? And righteousness exalt from the nation. No, man. Righteousness comes straight into the heart and the consciousness and is revealed through the voice. Yes. You can understand?
I'll be holding. La da 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 da. Bang gang, holding on. Bang gang,
teach them is the best.
Bang gang. Holding back the years. Thinking of the fear I've had so long. When somebody heals, listen to the fear that's gone. Strangled by the wishes of Peter, hoping for the arm of nature. Glad to see you sooner or later. Nothing ever good, yeah. I'll keep holding on. I'll keep holding on. I'll keep holding on.
Sweet, me I tell you, man, can't find this one on street.
Start our thing again. Around the bend and tell your friend. Problem. Hey. Them can't beat this, them can't beat this. Rubber dub style, I go keep them till the morning. Them can't beat this, them can't beat the real thing. No, no, them can't top this, them can't top this. Rubber dub style, I go drop till the morning. Them can't top this, them can't top the real thing. No way. We give them rubber dub style, wicked and wild, well versatile, with a disciplined child. When me was a youth, me used to run up and down. Rubber dub style come straight from me town. Anywhere me go, me mash the place down. Anywhere me go, a peer thing. Tell them can't beat this, they can't beat this. Rubber dub style, man go give them till the morning. They can't beat this, they can't beat the real thing.
Yeah, you want to see Marcia, you know? Marcia flash her hips, man. Try tease me. Come. And hear me now! And the ultimate truth. Reality. The facts of life. Hey, follow me now. 5 and 4 can never be 10. Say where me and no Eden can never be friend. Who no listen me? Take it as me tell you, no, it's just one of the laws of life. Come follow me now, hey. For this one you not to stop and check. Without a man and a woman, no baby can make. Hey, hey, nah, give me no inner, that is just one of the laws of life. Tell them no digital. Say forget the skin color, every man blood red. YOLO, enjoy your life cause everyone happy dead. No, I know me, make it up, it's just one of the laws of life. Hey, see them reality there? You can't left that. True. You understand? Whether you find it in a book or not, you can't left it. It's true. Definitely. 100%. Listen. Champion soul.
Baby, I would never let you down. Always be around. Baby, let's go do that ultrasound. Turn it from upside down. Hey, baby, I would never let you down. Always be around. Baby, let's go do that ultrasound. Turn it from upside down. Hey. Much more to come, yo, this is just the appetizer. Future secure, you're rocking with a franchise. Name it Michael Bones and God, I'll be your sole provider. If you all my love, oh no, I ain't gonna be no miser. Sweet appetizer, sorrow paralyzer. No in a gallivanting man, a real galvanizer. Any luck prizer, chakra exerciser. Miracle worker like the prophet named Elijah. I would never let you down. Turn it from upside down. Hey, baby, I would never let you down. Always be around. Baby, let's go do that ultrasound. Turn it from upside down. Hey, say all when mama forsake and papa forsake, this natty will be there to ease your pain, keep you sane, also dry your tears. Love is the foundation on which we stand. We will never be more prepared. Even though not everything is still just like Drewski, Bay goods. New world awaits beyond the realms of each childhood. Look at all we've gone through and the pressure that we've withstood. From chatting now we count and we good. Never let you down. Always be around. Baby, let's go do that ultrasound. Turn it from upside down. Hey, baby, I would never let you down. Always be around. Baby, let's go do that ultrasound. Turn it from upside down. Hey,
grace from the Creator itself. Yes, Wayne Wonder, come.
Surprise ever see a girl for the first time and just she just have the oh my god factor there. Wow factor there. You know what I mean? Surprise start, you know. Let love flow, Mr. Let love stay. I love is lovely, war is ugly. When you wanna come sing for girls, them do it, trend dance. Baby girl, it's you that I like. You know I would love to make you mine. Baby girl, are you that I like? Yeah, girl, I wanna make you mine. Love me funny to sing on. Girl, if you give me your heart, it won't get broken. I give you all the space so you don't feel like you are choking. Imagine you and I rolling. So many girls around and all of them are you get chosen. You're hotter than an oven. Girl, I woulda take you with me anywhere that I am going. Baby, I'm not joking. I get high over you like I'm smoking. Baby girl, it's you that I like. You know I would love to make you mine. The fact that I've never seen someone as fine as you. Oh, babe, you're always on my mind, girl. Always. And I can get enough of you. Oh. Baby girl, it's you that I like. You know I would love to make you mine. In my world. Love is lovely, war is ugly. I love you little mommy, love you little daddy, love your neighbor. Mod squad, real squad,
yeah. Yes, guidance. We'll go here. Last one. Guidance.
Rasta don't eat nothing. Rasta don't eat nothing unclean. Rasta don't eat nothing. Rasta don't eat nothing unclean. Rasta don't shoot or kill. Rasta don't shoot or kill. 'Cause he know it's a sin. Rasta don't deal cute. Rasta don't deal cute. 'Cause he loves all the youth. Rasta heart is pure and clean. Rasta heart is pure and clean. Just like a little turkey dove. Whoa, 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 whoa. So whenever you comes around, Rasta don't shoot nor kill. Rasta don't shoot or kill. Cause he know it's a sin. Rasta don't deal cute. Rasta don't deal cute.
See? Yeah, man. None of them cutie thing, you know. Oh. Guidance. Linville Thompson.
Come, let's praise and to die.
I'm the conqueror.
Jah is the conqueror.
You better know that.
They can never, never conquer Jah.
How could they?
They can never, never conquer Jah. Jah is the conquering Lion of Judah.
Tell them.
He has break the chain and set dreadlocks free.
Teach them.
Free again and again. Jah is a mighty man. Jah is rough and tough. Every nation should bow unto him. Every tongue should confess.
See, we are talking about the carnation, you know. Oh, don't get none confused and twisted. Guidance, Linville Thompson again.
Whoa, yeah. Boy, you keep on running down.
Vanity.
You're gonna lose your soul. You know, boy, all on their mind is just material gain.
Yeah.
You know, they don't cease to know about true loving.
No.
Them just a run down vanity and no love for humanity. Them just a run down vanity and no love for the brothers and sisters. What do you use to live big today and tomorrow you lose your soul? Don't blame me, brother man. You just a run down vanity and no love for you brothers and sisters. You know, you keep on running down. You show.
Yes, so I had some difficulty with my replay because I run it through earlier and it gone into the memory. So now I know I say, now no test run. You understand? So it got chopped up a certain way, but I just look and see that what went out is okay. You understand? So I'm going to get better and better at that part of the something because I was running it and I wanted to cut it at a certain place, you know? And the whole computer something retain the memory. Yes. You understand? So I have to try understand how to rewind, mark, edit, and all them something there. So God willing, you know. So anybody people who saw have seen it and go around look at it. Now just hold on to it. It's all right. You know what I mean? It's just that me start, rewind, and not rewind, restart and all of that something. So that's very disturbing. You understand? But I will get better. So forgive us for that. You know what I mean? And so forth. But you know, a life still. I should have got better at it, but yesterday I had to do other things, so I never really, you know, set it. And I don't really do things like that. I don't set things, you know. I just come. The only person that set things around here, principle. You understand? I just come and do my something through inspiration. So I might have a one topic going through my head. I may just work with it. I might not have anything. I may just pick two tune and then everything fall into place, you know? yeah, spontaneously, you know what I mean? Because I work from inside. Chesedek, I work with it today, but I go out with this brother here now, Black Eye Star.
Yeah. Oh, God bless.
I know I say in the U.S., it's African History Month, U.S. of February this. So those of you who are on the thing, yes. And don't forget Front Room, a wee thing. It look like the book, you know? Yeah, man, look like FB. You understand? Yeah, it's Black as Star, me I tell you. But the Front Room, me there upon it, and me I give, like everybody else, we'll give our own rendition of African history. That's what I do anyway. So may I pay some respect to American brothers and sisters, you know, and a few, black African people, but mostly Americans and so on. So watch out for that. It's up there. Today is the 3rd. So I've been in 2 days. So guidance.
All right. Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, you have to know who you are. Them say, when you see black bus, you fit turn back. Them say, nothing good never come out of black. Get crack or spot, I say him too black. But my complexion, me say me know it couldn't stop. I'm proud to be black, I'm a black to be proud. Marcus Garvey lead out 10 million black. I'm black to be proud, I'm proud to be black. Say if you with me, won't you shout it out loud? Boy, black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Some bleach out them skin and think them out the win. Some bleach out them skin until it get thin. Some bleach out them skin, see that them can't hear the king. Now from your bleach out your skin, boy, your sin. Boy, I'm a true Rasta man. Listen to songs that I sing. I'm a true Rasta man, and me Babylon can't trim. I'm a true Rasta man, smoking me up doing me thing. So Babylon listen to fire when they are fling. Boy, black like a tar. Black, I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud you better know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. I'll never betray my brother. No, never, no, never. Malcolm X come and teach the masses. Black brother, black sister. Yeah, he said you better know yourself, be yourself, never be another one. So oh, could I man come betray? Yeah, I am who I am. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud you have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every black superstar. Black like a tar. Black and I'm proud I have to know who you are. Black like a tar. Africa is the motherland, big up every ghetto superstar. Them say when you see black post, you fit turn back. Them say nothing good never come out of black. But the cross cake, I say him too black. But my complexion, they know it could not flop. I'm proud to be black, I'm black to be proud. Marcus Garvey.
See, a serious thing, you know.
call you. I Jaja call you. You hear me say to Rasta warn you. You hear me let me say no Jaja call you. You hear me say to Rasta warn you. Night and day, call you from Italy and call you from Rome. Black people picking me say come and we go home. Long time we don't call you, but you don't feel free come. So Babylon, stop you coming and come.
Jaja call you. Yeah, Rasta did warn you.
Yeah, man of the roots once again. Rockers reggae music. Energy.
Oh, I saw you on labor.
Go ahead, wait. Hey, you. Hey, you over there. You. Hey, you, sir.
I feel we sit or tell them feel low it.
Here we go. Whoa. Yeah. I'm here say now. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, if you don't have love in you, you got nothing at all. Cause remember, love conquer it all, love conquer everything.
And in those moments, watch God send you a little angel. He's gonna cause you to be at the right place at the right time. Worry about what you can do. Nothing else. Just do your part. And watch God meet you halfway. Do you believe that? Now I'm trying to give you some news that you can use. Is you listening? Do you hear me?
Guidance.
Are you just sitting over there worried about it?